Welcome, friends, to the year 2025, the crucible of our era where cosmic forces are colliding in a once-in-a-millennia convergence, shattering the paradigms, thrusting humanity into possibly the most profound, electrifying, and history-defining year we've ever known. We're going to have 5 planets changing signs. Well, actually, Pluto already changed. The other 4 outer planets changing signs, the nodes of destiny shifting into the existential axis. It is truly a global atmosphere charged with apocalyptic intensity on every level. We are truly standing at the crossroads of lifetimes where humanity faces an urgent call to evolve and a massive split in consciousness is likely to occur. But within this storm lies immense possibility, and as the veils of the Maya dissolve, higher frequencies and expanded levels of consciousness are becoming more and more accessible to more and more people than ever before. So while this year is very likely going to challenge us at every level, it's also a gateway, a cosmic invitation to rise above the chaos and co-create a future rooted in truth, cohesion, purpose, and wonder. Reality as we know it is being rewritten in the year 2025, and you are not a bystander. You are a creator, a necessary force in the weaving of this new reality into being. Thank you for being here today with me on this journey. My name is Shannon Gill. I am an evolutionary astrologer. I weave in Buddhist philosophy, Jungian psychotherapy, mystery teachings into my work. I'm essentially a mystic, possibly a Dakini, an agent sent back from the future to assist humanity with this giant leap in consciousness where we find ourselves today. Along with my partner, Russell Olhausen, we have our nonprofit, the Shift Foundation, which is basically our overarching vision, purpose, and mission in this lifetime to be ambassadors or guides for humanity in our local environment here in Wimberley, Texas, and also nationally and internationally to be agents of this massive historical moment on planet Earth. And we teach, we write, we have a school, which is Astrum Alliance. We do workshops, retreats, summer camps. We like to dance, we like to celebrate, and you can find more about us at theshiftfoundation.org. And we weave together many different systems of thought. And you'll hear me saying often we, because He is very much with me in this presentation. He's usually by my side whenever we're teaching, and he's made all of these beautiful slides. We are definitely a unified force as twin flames. We are the good news that, yes, the syzygy has occurred and will continue to pierce the veil into these higher dimensional states of unification for all of humanity. So we weave together math, science, myth, religion, spirituality. And so we're inviting you to accept what resonates and please just dismiss the rest. So a little bit about our journey today. We're going to be talking about this new consciousness, this new language we call creator language. Of course, we'll talk about the shifting canvas, which is the larger cycles, the microscope, then down to the micro cycles, the year. And this is a presentation, is half of a year of the astrological atmosphere, which is going to be January through July. And then we will take a peek into the future, into the year 2027, the prophecies of the gene key 55. And then I'll leave you today with some suggestions and some remedies and some ideas as far as making the most of this year for you and your loves in your life. So, as we are entering this brave new world, I know that if you have followed my work, you know that we've been anticipating this moment in evolutionary history for some of us for decades, other of us for lifetimes. We are truly here to write a new story. This is a completely different fabric of reality that we are here to awaken, that we are here to architect. We are now the awakened dreamers. We have arrived. And the Great Awakening has this dissolving of the illusion aspect, the illusion of separation. And so that is where we wake up and remember our God self. And that is also what we're going to be talking about in this presentation as well, as this evolution of humanity on a genetic level from Homo sapien to Homo sanctus, Homo luminous, Homo universalis. There is an actual biological process going on that is shifting us into higher frequencies, higher vibrations. And this is where, when we're anchored as the central channel, we become the vessel to unify the heaven and earth and bring harmony and alignment to the new earth grid. And it's in this sacred alignment that our body becomes the living temple and our soul embodies this divine vision. So we're very much like the jeweled nodes of Indra's net, each of us reflecting and containing the infinite facets of God, co-creating a reality of unity, love, and boundless potential. So the presentation today is going to integrate, as I mentioned, quantum science, spirituality, astrology, and we talk a lot about frequencies and working in a vibrational way, the blending of wisdoms, of course, ancient wisdoms and future consciousness that's coming online that we are all remembering. And we also emphasize a lot about the need for us to start to embody and practice a new conscious language, which is creator language, where we are no longer speaking from that place of illusion and of blame, victimization, and polarization. And this is really, I feel like, our responsibility as we've reached this master's level in evolution, that we start to take hold of our power to be these master creators, to be these weavers, these architects of this new landscape. And of course, astrology is the bridge. It reveals the patterns that connects the self with the universe, which helps to empower us to harmonize and to find greater effectiveness with our navigation. So we will be cautious about our language. However, we don't sugarcoat things either. And again, I feel like this is sort of the master's level of the tight wire that we're having to walk right now. In reality, is that we cannot ignore some of the elements that are presenting themselves as far as some of the shadow of Aquarius as we've entered into this new age. But we also aren't going to give it a lot of emotional association. So we have to learn how to talk from that witness perspective, from that space of the one mind. And so whenever we talk about and touch upon the light and the dark, we look at it through the lens of neutrality rather than duality. because 2025, the global conflict is definitely being reshaped by this convergence of forces, as we know: technological disruption, economic volatility, all these shifting alliances, this rapid expansion of artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, bringing challenges to the traditional power structures, creating new arenas for expansion, but also competition and control. And so nations and decentralized networks are all vying for dominance in this particular moment. And there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of volatility. It's a lot of AI-driven advancements, which are accelerating innovation and offering solutions. But also there is some nefarious agendas that we're all aware of that we're having to also mitigate. So we are going to look into some of these areas, and we're going to look through the eyes of the witness. And so, wow, like humanity is evolving into beyond any kind of human form that we have ever dreamt of, right? We're really all being stretched here to expand our definition or our version of reality. Whether it's the UAPs, or the dimensional entities that are coming on, basically the boundaries of a reality itself are being stretched. And what once was relegated to the realm of myth or speculation is now commanding global attention. So this is very, very exciting times. For many, it's going to feel also very destabilizing. And so we need to be aware that compassion and patience and allowing for everyone in our world to have their own experience, because this is part of this very interesting shift in consciousness, is that there are simultaneous realities converging at once. There's different timelines that are being experienced, all of us down here on this same earth field. So before we go into 2025, it's really important always to remember the larger spectrum of shifting energies. That is the backdrop. That is the overarching intensity that we are feeling. And that is because one age is ending and the next is beginning. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, and going to give a little bit more context maybe for those, or perhaps it'll feel like more of a review into this moment, this epic moment in our evolutionary history, which is the shifting of the astrological ages. And so it has been the case that there's been a rise and a fall of consciousness since the beginning of time. Humanity has fallen asleep and woken up over thousands and thousands of years. And our planet Earth has long been considered to be in a binary system with the star Sirius. Many people aren't aware of this. And this image displays approximately how the Yuga cycles and the cycles of the zodiac and the solar system's path through the zodiac align, as well as the orbital timing of the Sol-Sirius binary system around this fixed nodal point or barycenter. So you can see here that the Earth and Sirius, when they get far away from each other, we're in the dark ages. When they come towards the barycenter, those are the golden ages, or the ages of light. And you can see here the fall and the rise of humanity through the zodiac. And this is pretty much, well, I actually have a video that I'm going to let you watch to go a little bit more detail about these larger cycles. The astrological cycles are 2,160 years long, and they have different names depending on different cultures. And so I'm just going to allow this little video to go into more depth with that.
The great year.
A season, and a time to every purpose under heaven.
Lost civilizations, the golden age, Shangri-La. Might there be some truth to these ancient tales? Our ancestors spoke of a grand cycle bringing about high ages of enlightenment and low ages of darkness, marked by the movement of the heavens. They said that our sun curves through space, moving in a great orbit of its own, pulling the Earth and other planets along with it. If the Earth did move along with the sun on a curved path through space, we might see the same precession of the equinox through the zodiac and changing of the pole stars that the lunisolar wobble theory now attempts to explain. But it would not be caused by the Earth's wobbling independent of the sun. It would be caused by the whole solar system curving through space. Another reference frame is at work.
We believe that our sun moves in space with our entire solar system, that the axis of our Earth remains aligned to a point in space where that is fixed in respect to the equinoxes, it's fixed in respect to all the solstices, so that basically our entire system moves around a point in space.
Just as day and night are caused by the spinning Earth, and the seasons are caused by the Earth's orbit around the sun, some ancient cultures believed there's an even larger cycle that influences the rise and fall of civilizations. Although these cultures were highly advanced, they seemed to decline into a worldwide dark age. Ancient Egypt, the Greek and Roman empires, the megalithic and Mayan civilizations all collapsed and their knowledge was lost. To Plato and others, this fall of civilization was an inevitable part of the cyclical nature of the great year.
The evidence for these advanced civilizations is almost universal in the sense that they seem to be at their height very near the beginning. There is a cycle corresponding to spring, summer, autumn, winter, and we might say that this prevails metaphysically or spiritually to the human race itself.
This cycle of the ages was given different names by different cultures. To the Greeks, it was the Great Year, broken down into 4 periods: the Iron, Bronze, Silver, and Golden Ages, each age having its own distinct characteristics. The saints and sages of ancient India called it the Yuga cycle. The Babylonians and Egyptians had still other names for it, and the Greco-Roman Mithraic culture identified it simply by its observed celestial movement, the precession of the equinox.
And so it is that it is typical that when we come to this cusp between these massive shifts of timelines, this epics of time, if we're thinking the astrological age is 2,160 years long, it's chaotic. There's world wars, there's pandemics, there's devastating storms, and this is the prophesized time of the apocalypse. This is the time of the great revealing. And so if you're not familiar with maybe the detail around the differences between the Pisces age that's ending and the Aquarian age that's being birthed, this is where astrology becomes invaluable. And whenever you're able to decipher and read the archetypal codes, then you're able to glean the meaning. So Pisces age, Pisces is the fish, right? Swimming in opposite directions. It was an age of duality. It was an age of faith as well. The faith was, I believe that there's something that's greater than me, that's outside of myself. So there was an illusion during the Pisces age that there was a separation between matter and spirit. Man's down here, planet Earth, God somewhere nebulous up here in the sky. And so there was a program that we're separate, that we're powerless. If we feel that we're separate and powerless, we're more easily controlled. So it was a 2,000-year age of hierarchical paradigm, corruption, deception. And yes, this is that prophesized moment, this cusping period where it's all collapsing. Everybody always wants to know, well, when did it actually end? And when did the Pisces age begin? It's more about a blending of endings and beginnings, because if the ages are so long, which they are, 2,000 plus years, that cusp could be 50 or 100 years. But when you know the archetypal energies, and you know that the Aquarius paradigm, the Aquarius archetype has to do with what I call organismic consciousness, where those two fish of duality turn and face each other and recognize each other in the mirror as fractals of the one God. So it's an awakening that not only are we not separate, but we're actually one with Source, God consciousness incarnate in fractal form, waking up and remembering that. And so this cusping period, right, is about this awakening energy. Aquarius is revolutionary. It's about individuation. It's radical. It's innovative. It is connected to the one mind. It's connected to the Akashic records. It's about enlightenment. And these energies started to reveal themselves in the 60s in the Cultural Revolution. So that would be how I would answer the question, is I feel like that was when we really started shifting deeper into this birthing of this age. So we truly are the wayshores, or the pioneers, or the midwives of laying to death the last 2,000 years of the age of Pisces and birthing this new age of Aquarius. So we can trust. We need to trust the chaos. We need to understand that there is meaning in the madness, that we are no separate than nature. And what happens in the fall? Everything dies. The leaves wither and they go into the underworld of the compost and they have their magical metamorphosis, and then they're reborn in the spring. We are doing this as a humanity, and we have to have something pretty dramatic to shock the collective consciousness into mobilization, into that alchemical transformation of the entire world. And so this is where it can, if and when it feels kind of scary, that every day on the news, something else, another storm, an escalation of war, we have to remind ourselves that there's something alchemical going on that's part of the process. The great Carl Jung, one of my most amazing teachers, he didn't assume that this union of opposites would be smooth passage into higher consciousness. And when I say union of opposites, I'm referring to those fish that were in duality, us coming back into unity consciousness. I mean, look at where we are on the planet. I mean, the division is just off the charts. So we know that we're perpetuating that original wound so long as we are blaming, projecting, fighting, all of the ways in which humanity is just still so asleep. So one of his famous quotes, that the shift into the eon of Aquarius means that man will essentially be God and God man. This signs pointing in the direction consist in the fact that the cosmic power of self-destruction is given into the hands of man. So this is where I feel very strongly that we have a responsibility as the awakened dreamers to dream the new dream. We don't want to get up into the narrative or the dream of war. From the highest perspective, this is all an illusion. This is all a Maya. And we know that whenever we are really attuned to truth, universal wisdom, we are one with God consciousness. We are made in his representation. And therefore we have the attunement to infinite creativity, positivity, abundance, support to create this new landscape. So we have to remember that where our focus goes, because we are literally creating with every thought, action, and deed, is what we're perpetuating or what we're creating. So this goes back to this whole notion of the master's level of walking the tightrope of duality, not falling asleep to some of the nefarious agendas that are occurring, so that we can be awake, aware, and wise of how to navigate, how to mitigate, how to alchemize, and yet putting a majority of our focus onto all the amazing upgrades, all the incredible miracles, all the new technologies, all the synchronicities. The more we focus on the magical side of the light, the more that will permeate the earth grid. And this, yes, is part of the prophecy, in the Christian Bible, it talks about this is the time of the return of Christ. It, yes, absolutely is. And of course, it is not literal. It is about the Christed consciousness within, that internal awakening through our central channels. Literally, humanity has been asleep. We've been in a matrix level of reality. Our kundalinis have been sleeping. And this return of Christ consciousness is part of the Aquarian myth, the paradigm that we are all creating and experiencing, which is the activation of our inner technology, our chakras, waking up that pineal gland. Yes, we have been strategically calcified there, and connecting directly to the light, to source, to God, whatever your terminology is. And when we do that, we create a toroidal field. We are transceivers here to transmit and to receive. And the more of us that are doing that, then we actually elevate the entire Earth grid. And so this is such an exciting time. This is such an intense time. It's all of the above. Now we will turn towards this epic year 2025. And so here, again, we're just going to go through the first 6 months. Here are our themes. First of all the outer planets are changing signs. Okay, so Pluto changed signs last year, 2024. But aside from that, every other planet is changing signs. That is historically like epic beyond belief. In my research, I found that the last time that many planets changed signs was in early 1700s. And it was only 3 planets. So there is not a time in history that we are aware of when 4 planets, with Pluto barely, like just a few months before, changing signs. The outer planets are the transpersonal planets. That means they affect us collectively. When they're shifting into a new vibration, that means that we're shifting collectively. Well, it's a big deal when just one of them shifts. So to have all of them shift, this is where we know that this year historically may be the most epically colossal, radically innovative experience of our lifetime, for many lifetimes, for many decades, for even the millennia. If you think about the things that are coming into our field right now, they're mind-blowing. This is more like a science fiction movie. So that is paramount. We're going to have the nodes of fate shifting into Virgo Pisces, which, as I mentioned before, is the existential axis. We'll talk briefly about some retrogrades, and then we're going to bring it to a close there with some remedies. So again, always wanting to look first at the microscope, the larger cycles. We're going to start with Pluto. Pluto has now moved into Aquarius, and Pluto is the furthest planet. Pluto takes 248 years to go around the zodiac. Okay, it's the slowest, and it's the most powerful. Pluto rules transformation, the underworld, alchemy, power, powerlessness. It rules the deep subconscious. It rules all of the shadow. And whenever it moves into a new sign, it brings with it this unearthing energy, which can be quite violent and sudden, which it brings the shadow to the surface. So it was in Capricorn before it moved into Aquarius, and it moved into Capricorn in 2008. That was the financial collapse. Capricorn rules our system. Well, now that it's in Aquarius, Aquarius rules humanity and our consciousness. It also rules technology, because Aquarius, again, remember, out of age of Pisces duality into unified consciousness, organismic consciousness, where we're all operating as an organism. We all remember we're one energy. Pluto moving into Aquarius, it's going to transform humanity, transform consciousness. It also is going to bring the shadow up of consciousness and of our humanity. It's also bringing the shadow up within technology. This is technology. The World Wide Web is an outer manifestation or reflection of our collective consciousness. So we can expect disruption, instability in our systems. Again, we're still in this purging process of coming out of the 2,000 years of corruption within this patriarchal, hierarchical paradigm. There's going to be revolutionary shifts in power. We're already seeing that. There's going to be a continued alchemical process within the power structures of bringing more and more of the shadow to light, and then transforming, alchemizing. And it's going to be in Aquarius for 20 years till 2044. It's the last of the outer planets to enter Aquarius. So if anybody's curious, yes, we are fully here. That's something that we can trust. It's a lot like the storm in a lot of ways, and it's sort of like, you know, Pluto makes us face our shadow, which is essentially our fears. It is our wounds, our complexes, and so we're all going to be, you know, continue to be called to the carpet to do our own inner alchemy. If we want to see a different hologram, then we know that the universe is actually within. So it's kind of like this experience of nothing gets through. I know if you're like me, you're like, oh my God, are we done yet? I thought I'd already dealt with this. We do it in phases, right? We do it in cycles. We do it when the planets say we do it. And Aquarius rules our mind. It rules our consciousness. It rules our higher mind. So it's also going to empower us in that way, bring a lot more enlightenment in that way, but also it's going to bring to the surface any old wounds, complexes, addictions that have been sort of tucked away, that have been hidden, or that we've denied or repressed. We've kind of already touched a little bit about this, but this is really, you know, Aquarius, all of this advancement in robotics, the exponential growth of AI, you know, personality cloning, which we're going to have a little interesting video here in just a moment on that as well. It's a whole new world. I mean, this is why we're being called to be, you know, these brave new spiritual warriors. You know, the cryptocurrency whole uprising, all of this is very implicit in this true arrival into the Aquarian age, and we're going to see it accelerating massively this year. And so we're going to take a moment to watch a little video, and yeah, then we'll visit about it.
Did you know AI is cloning human personalities?
Stand by to engage neural probe.
Uploading our minds to the cloud remains science fiction.
You've transitioned to a synthetic body.
But we're inching closer to reality. Scientists recently created AI agents that can mimic your personality with 85% accuracy after a 2-hour chat. Looking for a new best friend? Imagine bantering with an AI version of yourself. Experts predict 1 in 10 people will have a digital clone by 2030. Beyond creating a virtual doppelganger, this tech could revolutionize everything from job interviews to preserving memories of loved ones. Some see it as a path to digital immortality, while others view it as the next AI threat to humanity. As scientists unveil another groundbreaking technological advance, the question lingers: are we prepared for a world where AI can think and act just like us?
So I don't know about you, but I'm not going down that path. I know that a lot of people are really concerned about this, and I think it's worthy of concern. This is where we kind of keep coming back to this notion about this bifurcation, this real separation in consciousness that's happening. There's going to be a lot of people that think that's a great idea, you know, to have microchips that can prevent disease or, you know, enhance their personality and their productivity. That's personally not going to be my first choice, and I'm going to be staying human. So I'm curious what you feel about that. Crypto, yes. So crypto is definitely, again, implicit in this shift into the age of Aquarius. It's very metaphoric for this new age because it embodies decentralization, innovation, collective empowerment, where the interconnected systems replacing these hierarchical control systems that really fosters more equality and shared purpose. This is about transparency and trust, right? The blockchain's transparency reflects the Aquarian focus on authenticity and truth, integrity of shared systems. It's also upholding freedom and independence because it enables financial autonomy and liberation from any of the traditional banking systems, which are, you know, we know that the economy and the traditional economic systems are in also this process of collapse and transformation. So if you haven't looked into or gotten on board with this whole crypto emergence, I highly suggest that you do, because it really feels like it's central to the future and it's not really going to go anywhere. So the more that we can kind of tiptoe our way into it, I think the better off that we're going to be in the future. Yeah. Yes, potential for reform. It is definitely experienced exponential growth. and Bitcoin's emergence, setting the foundation with other innovations like Ethereum introduced into smart contracts, fueling a lot of broader adoption. And so, yes, there is a bit of volatility in there right now, but there is support. There are great people teaching. I'm actually in a crypto class right now. If you're interested in me sharing that information with you, just feel free to reach out and I would be more than happy to. Also, our Shift Foundation has a Telegram group, Lighthouse Crypto group. If you're interested in that, we have bi-monthly calls and we're kind of just like all learning together, but we have some people with more experience in our group that help guide. So that's been really awesome. All right, so Pluto return of the United States. Well, countries, nations also have astrology charts, have birth charts. And so we are in the United States in our Pluto return. Remember, Pluto takes 248 years to go around the zodiac. That 248 years ago was 1776-ish. And so it was a time of global revolution. The French Revolution was also taking place. So it's revealing the shadow, right? It's totally been revealing the shadow of our politicians and of our, of our leaders in all of the ways in Hollywood and everywhere. Everything is just oozing. This dross is coming up for this necessary purging that's going on. And so we are really being reborn as a nation right now. This transformation of the nation is upon us. Again, there's this real extraordinary historical convergence of cycles happening, not just collectively, but also spiritually directly for the United States. And I would imagine most of the people watching this are here with me. So, we understand that astrology is a history of cycles. So we can say, well, when was the last time, that Pluto was in Aquarius? And here's some of the more recent and even further back experiences of this ingress. I mentioned already the American Revolution in 1776, the French Revolution in 1532 or 1553, the split for Henry VII, splitting from the Catholic Church, the Spanish smallpox. So you see the repeat of themes with the pandemic. Oh, excuse me, I didn't say that. And the wars, the violence. This is the alchemy, the Black Death, the Constantine in Rome converting to Christianity, the fall of the Second Temple. All of these happened historically when Pluto moved into Aquarius. So now you can kind of scan the landscape of what's going on in our collective and you can glean the resonance of the archetypal semblance. And this is the power of astrology. All right, so I like to cross-reference different systems whenever I'm trying to create sort of a general theme or prediction about a time period. And this 2025 in Chinese astrology is the year of the snake. Interesting, the snake, which is about change, transformation, letting go. Again, we're like at this birth canal and it feels like we're like, at that last push, we have to let go. We have to surrender to the discomfort, to the attachments. We're facing our fears. We are also being activated. Our life force is being activated. It's the Kundalini energy. There's this rise of consciousness that's happening where more and more people have access to higher dimensional states. That's why I love evolutionary astrology, because it's about consciousness. It's about energy and frequency and, our growing interest in the gene keys. It's all about this biological mutation of our genes. So I feel like this year is preparing us for this full activation coming next year and more specifically 2025. And, the snake is known for determination and endurance and, being spiritually awake. It is also about, it's personal and it's collective. We're shedding those old paradigms. We're shedding all of the ways that we've been asleep. We're waking up. It's like that snake biting us, the fear that comes from the snake is illuminating the shadow. It brings forth the things that have been hidden. And in numerology, it happens to be a 9 year. interesting, which is also about completion, endings. It's also the sacred number of the universe. And so we're again saying we're at the end of a cycle. We have to let go. We have to release. It's about higher consciousness. It's about this arrival. So it's just that, it's that last moment, that nexus point of the end and the beginning, which is going to be echoed throughout all of these astrology transits that I have to share with you today. And beautifully in the tarot, this is the card of the year of the Hermit, which has to do with profound retreat into the inner wisdom of our soul. It is a year that is signaling for more introspection, that as more of the collective chaos emerges, that it's really going to demand that we find our clarity and our guidance from within. And so that Hermit's lantern represents this beacon of hope through the darkness. It holds that flame of enlightenment. It illuminates the path that can often be obscured by noise and distraction. There's so much coming at us all the time that we're really going to need to go within to find out what's true. We have access to eternal guidance and truth within. It's nothing that we can see out here on the news. And actually, we know we can't trust much anymore, even though, it sounds like they're trying to reverse some of the censorship. And that's a beautiful thing, and I hope that occurs. But in general, there's always going to be a splendor of opinions. And so we're being called to understand that the internal world actually should take more precedence than the outer world, and that's going to be a necessary component this year. All right, so now we're going to look specifically about the planetary alignments for January through July. And so here's just a partial list. If anybody is like a note taker, you're welcome to snap a shot of this slide. I'm not going to read them to you, just let you glance at them. And yeah, so we started this year with Mars retrograde. So you probably already know quite a bit about the retrogrades. They're not something to fear or to be annoyed by, although it can be annoying sometimes, yes. Let's be honest. This is a time to pause so that we can reset, because in the busyness of life, we get on the hamster wheel and we go, and we just wake up and holy cow, how did I get here? What am I doing here? Because we fall asleep, we get distracted, or the timelines change, and this isn't the same. It's not the same need anymore. The intentions need to change. So the retrogrades are an invitation to renegotiate our consciousness around whatever the energy of that planet is. And so with Mars, it's our engine, it's where we're going, it's what we're doing, it's our masculine drive, it's what we're willing into being. And Mars is not happy whenever it's not going forward. So it can feel frustrating. It can feel like internal angst, contention, irritability. Mars, the warrior. The shadow is war, anger, defensiveness, righteousness, self-centeredness. It started its retrograde in Leo back in November, and Leo, it's saying, is your journey, Mars, in alignment with your heart, with your passion, with what lights you up, with your potential legacy. And so as we're in this new timeline, and certainly it is there's so much has shifted through this presidential election moment, and now that we're on the other side, we are in a different timeline, and we're in a different landscape completely than we were pre-2020, and I think we are all aware of that, which requires different focus, intention. Even we're looking at, oh my gosh, is my job even going to be viable in 2 years with AI? There's so much to consider. So this is a time to really allow the pause, and it's really not the time to be off to the races anyway at January 1st, because we're still in the underworld. We're still in the womb. In bulk, spring equinox, yes. So take this time to reevaluate. It went back from Leo into Cancer, I believe, on the 6th of January, which shifted the introspection into the realms of family and security and emotions and what is important in those areas. And I don't know if you're experiencing anything like this, but I'm definitely experiencing some very literal shifts within my family structure and different negotiation with my children and things like that. And so it can be very literal as well. But, you know, when we're talking about Cancer, it's what gives us emotional fulfillment and emotional security. And I think that that's a reasonable area to reflect upon as far as future security, because again, everything is changing rapidly. So it will go direct on February 23rd. So we have a bit more time to rewrite the direction, the script, or the map of where we're headed. And so the next piece of important shifting energy that I want to share with you is that the nodal axis, the transiting nodal axis, is leaving leaving Libra, Aries, and it's moving into Virgo, Pisces. So the transiting nodal axis is known as the destiny line, and it's the karmic journey of the collective consciousness. We have one in our birth chart as well. So that one is our personal karma from past lives and our personal dharma, our spiritual contract. Well, we have collective karma and collective dharma. And so wherever the transiting nodal axis is where the focus is. And yes, there's 12 signs, but it's better to think of 6 axes of polarity. They're 2 sides to the same coin seeking balance. So the transiting nodal axis was in Libra, Aries since early 2023. The nodal axis is what creates the eclipses. And so every 6 months, we have eclipse season, and eclipses are the quantum leap on a soul level. They are when the timeline shifts. They're when the evolutionary clock moves forward. They're magnified new and full moon, so solar and a lunar. And what creates an eclipse is a new or full moon conjunct that transiting destiny line, that transiting nodal axis. So you can just always remember when we're in eclipse season, it's important. Whatever's happened is more deeply connected to your soul's karmic journey. Sometimes it's really intense stuff. Sometimes it's really sudden change. The lights are out. There's an obscuration of the light, which is our consciousness, and everything speeds up. And so it can feel quite destabilizing. It can feel like we're losing control. Chapters are closing. People are leaving our lives. But also, it is often bringing in these incredible opportunities, things that we've been intending to manifest. They just come from nowhere. So it can affect our nervous system. It can affect our sense of feeling like we're in control. It's a good thing to do is just to slow down during eclipse season. So now that the nodal axis is shifting into Virgo, Pisces, it's going to be different themes. This is where, so the Libra Aries axis, the last 2 years, all the eclipses were there. That was the axis of relationships. That was the axis of me versus we. Me versus was Aries, we is Libra, the lover and the warrior. It's also the axis of war and peace. We were all looking at our codependencies. We were all looking at the ways that we dance with self and other. We were all looking at our deep maternal and paternal wounds, which is what plays out in our relationships, right? We were all looking at how our relationship to our I am, Aries, coming online with our spiritual warrior as here we are at this moment, the last push through the birth canal. And so we are going to have one more eclipse in Aries in March, and then, but all of them are going to be in Virgo, Pisces from now until August of 2026. So Virgo, Pisces, this is the axis of the balance between earthly precision, earthly manifestation, and divine affinity, divine surrender, the infinite, the boundless, the mystery. So it's heaven and earth. This is the axis of existentialism, of spirituality. It's also the axis of health, which is Virgo. And so there's going to be this interplay between our spiritual evolution and growth and practical application and how we navigate. You know, it feels like such a beautiful, potent opportunity for that true anchoring of this new earth paradigm where we bring that heaven to earth, where we return to the garden of innocence together. Virgo, of course, is the south node. The south node is where the shadow often is, and the north node is sort of like our North Star, where we need to lean. So Virgo, the South Node, is about our earth, our body, our health. It's about discipline and creating order out of chaos, boundaries. It has to do with purpose and our work and what we're doing here on planet Earth. And Pisces is everything that we can't control. Pisces is the infinite. Pisces is the dream. It's about spiritual expansion, our intuition, our faith, connection to the unseen worlds. It's about our creativity and our imagination. It has to do with our dreams. It has to do with surrender and flow and trusting in divine timing. And, you know, they each have a shadow. The shadow of Virgo is contentious, it's controlling, it's fear-based, it's anxious, it's too caught in the minutia, it's too caught in the detail and losing track of the larger spectrum of things. The shadow of Pisces is escapism and addiction and being lost in the chaos and non-functional, having boundary issues, you know, living in an illusion. Think about the Pisces age, like being delusional, confused, or over idealism, passive avoidance, you know, just not showing up in earth-based reality and having trouble with time and space. So it's order versus chaos, practicality versus fantasy, discernment versus confusion, routine, Virgo versus surrender, control versus flow. You get the picture, right? Critical thinking, Virgo versus blind faith, boundaries, Virgo versus boundlessness. So we're all going to be faced with what I feel is based on the rest of the astrological alignments that are happening, our existential anchor. What is our faith rooted in? Because there's going to be a lot of apocalyptic energy in the frequency of the planet, a lot of really accelerated change, a lot of really wild and crazy things coming into our field that feel non-human, you know, whether it's UFOs or it's robots. It can create destabilization. It can create destabilization as we watch the system collapse for those people that haven't been doing their inner work, that have been lost in the illusion. You know, no judgment, compassion. They've been brainwashed. We all were, right? And we're all on our own trajectory of awakening, of evolution. It's not designed for us all to be aware and awake at the same levels. We wouldn't want a collective psychotic break, because in order to be fully awake, you have to be able to look through into the eyes of darkness and transmute that. So this is a journey of awakening, right? And so there's potentially going to be a lot of existential anxiety about things moving too fast. There's nothing to hold on to. You know, the economy's collapsing. Reality feels very surreal, and a tendency to check out. People are just like, you know, drinking too much, or just psychological and emotional issues coming in. We're also going to see an uptick in disease, you know, which Virgo and Pisces axis is health, with a lot of the invasion of our biology through our air, our water, through our food. Luckily, our new administration has a lot of real high hopes and plans, and bless them to be able to manifest them to clean things up and to help us get back to a healthy ecology, a healthy planet, healthy diets, healthy medical industry. But we're going to probably see a lot of the manifestation, a lot of dis-ease that has been rooted in a lot of the corruption. But we have a lot of incredible technologies to meet those as well, emerging, that in the past have been hidden. So welcome to the revelation, where everything's coming to the surface. All right, so that was a lot about the backdrop. These are the backdrop energies, which will heighten and crystallize during the eclipses, which is this Virgo Pisces axis. So some other things happening. March is a huge month. That's when we enter to eclipse season. And then the eclipse gate is going to open at the beginning of March. The very same time, Venus turns retrograde. So during the whole eclipse season, which is 6 weeks, we also have Venus retrograde. So we have Mars going direct on February 23rd, and then Venus just a week later retrograde. So the cosmic lovers, it's like they're high-fiving and passing each other. Venus rules our relationships, our relationship to ourself, the primary relationship, which becomes a magnetic mirror reflection to the relationships we attract on the outside. This is the Taurus Libra connection. It also rules our desire nature, what we want, what's important to us, our values. Again, new timeline. I don't have the same desires as I used to. I have a different focus than I did even last year as far as my work. Things are changing so rapidly. So we're going to be reevaluating. We're going to be reevaluating where our relationships are as well, because this is the final eclipse season where we're dancing with that Libra Aries axis. And therefore, this is sort of like the final chapter of the last 2 years that we've been doing this deep renegotiation within our relationship dynamics. It's going to retrograde from Pisces back to Aries. And so it's going to actually go from Aries back to Pisces, excuse me. So we're going to be looking at relationship to ourself, to our desire nature, also our relationship to the unknown, Pisces. Again, that relationship to everything that we can't control, our relationship potentially to any of our complexes or our addictions, any places that we check out. These are just a few of the ideas, and we'll be talking more about that when we get closer. The first eclipse, March 14th, will be a lunar eclipse in Virgo. So lunar eclipses, of course, full moons. Virgo, where are we holding on too tight? Where are we being anal, obsessive? Where are we controlling? Where are we too worried? Where are we not paying attention? You know, if we have to look at the whole axis. Where are we being negligent? Where are we putting our heads in the sand? You'll want to look where that is in your chart. And I have another slide with the degrees. March 25th, that's when Venus slides back into Pisces from Aries. The 29th of March is the last eclipse in Aries until, well, for 9 years. So this is, you remember the big total solar eclipse that we had here in Texas? We were in the crosshairs last April 8th. It was massive. The implications for everyone about our relationship to ourself, to our I am, to our autonomy, to our sovereignty, to our sanctity, to our divine mission. And so it feels like we get to write this final chapter and to activate in this new cohesion. So that's the 29th. And then the next day, we have a very significant planetary shift of Neptune entering Aries. This is just a nice image of the Venus retrograde cycle if anybody wants to take a picture for more specifics. And this is the slide I mentioned about the actual eclipse dates. So if anybody wants to know, the gate opens February 27th and the gate closes April 12th. So that's a good 6 weeks of accelerated evolutionary change that it will be here before we know it. And, you know, just remembering that during those eclipses that there is a feeling of loss of control. The nervous system is often very triggered. So it's really important to calm, stay centered, go slower. Monks always say that thoughts, actions, and deeds take on 10,000 times their weight during an eclipse. And so being very intentional and allowing that energy to help catapult you into whatever that next manifestation is that you're focused on. So back to Neptune. So Neptune entering Aries. This is a really big deal next to Pluto and Aquarius because Neptune takes 164 years to go around the zodiac. And so, yes, very, very rare. And it's leaving the last sign of the zodiac, Pisces, and entering the first sign of Aries. It's being reborn. And Neptune rules Pisces. That is, again, the collective, the dream, the infinite. So this is a really significant transit. It's going to enter into Aries, and then it's going to retrograde back to Pisces in the fall. So we need to realize that, yes, it's like this laboring process of like, oh, we're almost there. No, we got to, back and forth. Neptune rules our spirituality. It's our vision. It's our dreamscape. And Aries is the birth. It's the new beginning. It's like out the birth canal. It's the fire of creation. So it's creating a new Aries vision for collective. It's creating spiritual leadership You know, Aries is one of the 3 leaders in the zodiac. Spiritual bravery, innovation with creativity, bringing new things into the zeitgeist, empowerment and collective unity coming together, and with a new shared vision. The Aries is the warrior, where we're going. It's our engine. Of course, every archetype has that spectrum of light and shadow. There can be definitely battles over illusions and misguided zeal over zealous actions driven by unrealistic ideals or illusions, spiritual aggression, confusion in action, a lot of, again, more like misinformation and deception occurring, deceptive leadership, you know, not being on the up and up. And so this is where it becomes very important that we take on that responsibility of being the awakened dreamers to master this dream logic and not to get swept up in any ideology or any way in which we uphold a certain belief system, because we have to remember that essentially is all still a play of the mind, a play of the Maya. And we need to become more of just conscious observers and very impeccable creators, with holding our focus on the horizon, on the other side of this last battle, because we all chose to be here for this showdown. And so here we are. There's a few more aspects there. So again, you know, it's always really important to look historically, and you know, every 165 years when Neptune has entered Aries, there's been some quite extreme experiences on planet Earth, including the US Civil War, which was in 1861 to 1865, right whenever Neptune entered Aries. The US Act of Post-War Reorganization, the Chinese concurrent civil wars, the Taiping Civil War, the Dungan Revolt, which was like 12 million deaths in China. You know, some of the Great Reform in Russia, also in 1698, establishing it itself as a global power. In the 1350s, the Black Death. After, I guess, on the tail end of the Black Death, there were revolts, and which led to this restructuring of Europe. In 711 CE, Islamic invasion of the Iberian Peninsula, establishing or fostering new centuries of culture exchange and conflict. The fall of the Second Temple in 70 CE. Do I have that on there? Yeah, there we go. So a lot of, you know, Aries is the warrior, but it's also war, and so that's something that we have to just be aware of. But there's also been a lot of really positive occurrences. You know, there's always a spectrum of light and shadow, like the abolition of slavery in the Civil War, the national unifications between Germany and Italy, and global communication. The transatlantic telegraph cable was revolutionized during that time. There's always a lot of artistic innovation. There's often a lot of scientific breakthroughs, etc. So there's always going to be a spectrum of light and shadow with all of these collective shifts in our planet. All right, so that's March, but of course that ingress of Neptune will color the most of the year till it goes retrograde back in September, October, I believe, which we'll touch on in our next presentation. And April is, you know, we're still in eclipse season through half the month, I think till the 12th, and we also have Mercury retrogrades, and that's really the extent of the action in April. And so Mercury is going to retrograde again from Aries to Pisces, which is so fascinating. So here we are with this end and beginning, this again apocalyptic archetypal dance that's happening with several of our planets. It's going to be really interesting what the collective consciousness, the vibe of the emotional sphere is going to be. Again, I feel like this is going to be this even more intensified bifurcation of people that are celebrating, you know, like we've arrived, and tapping into just this fifth dimensional timeline where we are, you know, it's like instant karma, you know, magic and manifestation, you know, things happening like just instantaneously. I know that I've experienced so much of that whenever we're on the right channel, the right frequency. We truly are divine creators, and that's what we're here to do. And we just have to get more skillful and more, I guess, trusting and more regularly attuned to this gift that we have, which I still say is our responsibility to uphold for humanity, so that we start to continually, we don't have to pop in and out of these timelines and like, you know, be in this space and then something happens and get triggered and go back to dealing with old stuff. This is where we have to continue to learn this emotional mastery over our reactivity and be like the hawk. You know, it's the year of the snake. Well, the snake in Scorpio also is one of the archetypes that's represented is the hawk. That once the snake sheds the skin, it becomes like this eagle or this hawk that soars above with this level of objectivity, peace, and calm and higher awareness. So that's the whole intent of the shedding, is that we're letting go of the dross or the illusions of separation, of all the baggage, of all the protection along our heart chakra, stripping the veil of the illusion of all the deception, whether it was strategic or not, and seeing things clearly and seeing through the eyes of the creator, and then creating from that place. So now we will talk about Saturn that enters Aries. So here we have, yes, another planet leaving the end of the zodiac. That's, you know, those last degrees are the death degrees of any sign. But when it's the death degrees of Pisces, it's the end of the entire zodiac. And so again, like, everywhere we look, you know, it's like Pisces, you know, Aries, Pisces, Aries is this very, very existential moment on planet Earth, with, again, all the outer planets taking this major shift. So Saturn is the planet that rules reality. It rules 3D. It rules the system, the structure, the roots of our world. And it enters into Aries on May 24th, where it will be until April of 2028. And so, you know, Saturn has a bad reputation because it's the taskmaster. It's the Lord of Karma. It's, you know, where the rubber meets the road. It can feel very restrictive, but it also is strategy and rootedness and longevity, and it has to do with our security system of what we're creating in our world, in our paradigm, what holds us, what gives us this level of this container. So when it moves into Aries, which is all about this birth into this new action, we're going to see a lot of structured action, new structures, I guess I could say, encouraging like the establishment, bringing in this innovation. This Aries is all about something new, right? Already seeing a lot of bold reforms, right? A lot of societal changes, a lot of unprecedented change that we're seeing in this new administration. I mean, talking about no longer paying taxes, talking about, talk about the great revealing, you know, unveiling the JFK files. I mean, it's a really, really, again, wildly historic moment on planet Earth. There's also going to be possibly a redefinition of identity, you know, we're all going to be called to come into our own level of leadership. Saturn is the elder leader or the tribal grandmother archetype. And so this level of leadership is being reborn within ourselves and within our planet. We're already feeling that. It's already here, but it's really going to strengthen its roots whenever it gets there in May. Of course, shadow authoritarian leadership is always a possibility. Conflict escalation, definitely. You know, we're going to look at some of the historical experiences that we've had. Saturn, of course, is a lot faster of a moving planet. It's 28 years around the zodiac, and so that is definitely, you know, not as rare of an occurrence, but it's still very, very significant. It can be a rough time for leaders. It can be like, are you in integrity? Some of the more recent ingresses in 96, it was, you know, a lot of the rise of the internet area and a lot of that innovation. In 67, there was a lot of anti-war protest, the civil rights movement. There was a lot of really significant racial unrest. in 1937, it was when, we're talking when Saturn moves into that 0 Aries point. It was the prelude to World War II. And so that was when Japan invaded China, and Europe faced the rising tensions together, and this restructuring of the power with the Aries like warrior energy or warlike energy was what was present. In 1908 was the Russian Revolution. 1867, the Reconstruction era, redefining the U.S. and the civil rights. So you can kind of start to glean, and we're not even finished yet, like how profound it is that we have all these outer planets moving to at the same year, this convergence of really significant cycles that is, as I keep saying, historically unprecedented. And the fact that Saturn and Neptune are both leaving the end of the zodiac, which is Saturn is our government, our third dimensional reality, our society. Neptune is our collective consciousness, our dream, all ending and all beginning. So this is this massive global shift in the consciousness and in the third dimensional system, in the matter realm. The last time Saturn and Neptune entered Aries together was 1862. And, it's Saturn and Neptune will conjunct every 36 years, but not always in the same sign. And so this is very rare. And the 1862 conjunction took place during the American Civil War. And so that, is again another war signature that is one of these converging cycles. But I like to think about it in the sense, as an evolutionary astrologer, that even though in history, when we had these particular alignments, these energetics, the result was war, that doesn't necessarily mean that has to be how it goes down now, because of evolution. We are evolving. We have been evolving. Yes, there's likely going to be some conflict, but let's focus our one mind, remember our responsibility, on it not escalating. Let's focus our energy on sending benevolence to these leaders, that they are going to have a humane response and want to de-escalate these conflicts and want to create safety and harmony and cohesion for their people, right? So again, it's really important that we're not projecting darkness outside, because that's what we're creating. That's what we'll see on the hologram. I feel like that's really significant. Okay, and now we look at Jupiter. So Jupiter, the great benefic, brings blessings and opportunity. Everybody loves Jupiter. It's our largest planet. It brings expansion, and it is going to be moving into the sign of Cancer in June, where it will be till July of 2026. This is going to expand our emotional intelligence. Jupiter is our consciousness. So this feels like a lot of our intuitions are going to be expanded, our capacity, our spidey sense. It also helps that everything's being revealed at the same time. A more emphasis on the nurturing of our home life and our family life. Also an enhancement, hopefully, of our compassionate nature, which we need to see more of. No matter what side of the fence you have been on during this whole election cycle, or your personal beliefs or biases, we have to continue to realize that the more we associate with a point or a perspective, the more that we are potentially perpetuating the very issue we're trying to heal. And so we need to, as much as we can, soften those edges and really come from our heart chakra and really come from our place of unity consciousness. It's okay to have an opinion. It's not okay to project that other people are wrong and have hatred or have anger projected outwards or shadow projected outwards. And so this period of this year, I think we're going to see an uptick in this capacity for humanity to have more emotional intelligence and compassion towards each other. Also, more need for sanctuary and home and family. And if it does get kind of crazy and chaotic there for a while, then that's going to be our place of refuge. And if we remember, the Hermit card was also giving us that signal that we were going to need to be taking a lot more time within. during this year to really like just anchor and keep connected to our own inner truth while the global frequencies are accelerating to the degree that they will. All right, this brings us to our last outer planet shift. This is the planet Uranus, which is the planet that rules Aquarius. And so I call it the lightning bolt of change in the hands of destiny. It is the storm of awakening. And it takes 84 years to go around the zodiac. And it will be entering Gemini in July. We're going to go into this in more depth in our next presentation where we do the second half of the year. But I had to at least include it because it's so important. It's going to be there for 7 years. And Uranus is about enlightenment and liberation. Think about Aquarius, evolution, upgrades, progress. Moving into Gemini, which is the mind, which is our consciousness, which is our communication, our learning, our writing, our speaking. And so planet Uranus is the planet of disruption and rebellion and sudden breakthroughs, but often brings a level of chaos. So we can expect more revolutionary change with maybe a level of chaos or upheaval in technology, in the information realms. Uranus doesn't do things subtly, it usually electrifies. So incredible innovations, things really speeding up. You know, also to think about Gemini as the planet that rules duality. And it could really trigger some more polarization, ideological splits. You know, the last time that Uranus was in Gemini was also a war signature, which we'll look at here in just a minute. It's because it triggers wars based on the collapse of outdated ideas. You know, Gemini is the mind and the concepts and the information, and that we need to be able to have an emergence of new worldviews. And so this is something that you know, this is part of the alchemy, the ecstasis of this transformation that we're going through collectively. So expect more radical evolution in technology and more people waking up. This is going to get so interesting, where more and more people, the blinders are coming off. People that didn't see things before are going to be seeing them. It also can create destabilization. Remember the mind, you know, the duality, and people getting confused or overwhelmed. And then the backdrop that Pisces, Virgo axis, that existential axis, which is saying, where's your anchor? How do you trust the unknown? You know, where's your faith? Staying out of fear, staying out of worry, and all of those things. And the answers usually always go back to the opposite. Virgo is saying, keep it simple, chop wood, carry water, stay very present. How do you attune to the present moment with something that can lighten you up, something that can bring you joy? So some previous Uranus and Gemini cycles: the American Revolution, 1775, World War II, 1941, and the Civil War in 1861. So this is really intense that all of these outer planets ingresses into the signs that they're moving on have been implicit in global escalation of war. And so I just always want to invite us to trust that birth process, to trust that darkness, to trust the alchemy of, you know, I think about when a caterpillar's in the chrysalis, it turns to total mush, right? Does it know it's going to become a butterfly? I'm sure there may be some moments of like, oh no, you know, possibly. So we have to remember that A, we're eternal, and B, we chose to be here for the showdown. We don't want to go back to the way that it was, right? And this is part of the big shift. And what gives me a lot of hope that I want to leave you with is that, yes, these three outer planets ingressing into the signs that they are historically have been war signatures. However, this time in this year, they're creating a beautiful sacred geometry in the sky. So from 2025, this year, to 2028, there's a harmonious trine between Uranus, which is awakening, the future, evolution. Neptune is the dream, the collective, and Pluto, which is transformation, alchemy, and power. So I feel that it's anchoring this new timeline for our Earth's evolution. and that, yes, we're going to go through this level of chaos that man plays out as we're going through these final phases of the birth canal. But what's waiting for us on the other side is already being anchored. And so this is this fascinating experience of the merging of the different timelines or the different realities simultaneously. So we can lean into that and we can trust that. All right, so now we're going to conclude the presentation with looking ahead a little bit here. This last piece, we're going to look at the prophecies of 2027 with the gene keys, a few suggested remedies, and yes, just our conclusion. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with gene keys, but I sort of briefly took a little deeper dive. I've always been fascinated, and I just hadn't actually had the opportunity to do the deeper dive. It's a framework that's designed to unlock our highest potential by exploring the relationship between our DNA, consciousness, and our life's purpose. It integrates astrology and the I Ching, as well as genetics and quantum physics. It was developed by Richard Rudd, who took human design a little bit further. And I have been like really blown away by the nuance and the subtlety of the information that comes through my specific gene key. Everyone has theirs, sort of like you have your astrology chart to align with more specificity, but even more so, it highlights the shadow. It highlights the shadow, and you know, the shadow likes to hide. And so sometimes it's hard to know what our shadow is. Sometimes it's hard to know what that next level of evolution looks like, because it's by its very nature, it's hidden. But I found that in my gene key reading, I was really profoundly, it really resonated. I was like, oh yes, okay, that gives me information of how to reorient around some of these things. So Richard Rudd points to the year 2027 with this really extraordinary prophecy, which aligns with the astrology, which is where it pings for me, because as we talked about, we have Neptune and Saturn entering Aries this year. However, it's going to be a little bit of a cha-cha. They're going to retrograde back and forth a couple times and fully emerge finally in the very, to the degree, exact conjunction in 2027, which feels like this true birth of the new world. Well, this is the prophecy that Richard Rudd is sharing, which is the prophecy of 2027, which is in his system, the gene key 55, which relates to freedom. It's humanity's quantum leap, and it marks the true awakening, or the final flip into this humanity's true essence, basically. And it's this transformation on a genetic level of our whole species, going from Homo sapien to Homo luminous or Homo sanctus. And so the essential shift into freedom comes out of the shadow of victimization or victimhood, where we are birthing this new era of sovereignty and abundance, and working with our God codes, which is all stemming from our solar plexus. So it's a very heart-centered experience, and the coming out of victim is really significant, because we see it still so prevalent. It's very Pisces age, that division, that polarity, those fish swimming in opposite directions. So long as we are projecting any kind of emotional association or blame outside of ourselves, we're essentially still asleep because there is nothing outside of us. And so the freedom that comes through the evolution, through that distortion, through that illusion, is freedom beyond any political party or any childhood baggage. It's freedom from the Maya. It's freedom. It's spiritual freedom. It's infinite freedom, where we are like that hawk and we soar above. And there's several tenets that I would suggest that you explore on your own. I'm going to give you a link here in just a moment. But coming out of victim and consciousness is the biggest one. It's also the end of the paradigms of control and hierarchy and fear-based governance into a time where it's more about what do they call that? synarchy. So it's going from hierarchy or patriarchy to synarchy, which is collaborative, which is that organismic consciousness where we're all organs of the organism and we're all giving our gift, which comes from our heart chakra. We're going to see more twin flames emerge in union on the planet this time of the sacred union, the Hieros Gamos, which is the embodiment, the syzygy of the unity consciousness, which these power couples will continue to sort of lay the groundwork and be the tip of the spear in a lot of ways. So this feels like really exciting about why we're shedding their skins, what's the snake, what's ending. This is where we're emerging into this age of enlightenment, which is implicit in the Aquarius paradigm. So I highly recommend that you snap a picture here and you go deeper into this. It's a beautiful meditation. It's more like a transmission of energy, and check it out for yourself. And then our final little section here is about just some suggestions about how to navigate this level of chaos and rapid change. You know, we're really going to have to reframe our approach to everything. And sacrifice feels like, I don't know if it's a word that I really love, but, you know, I think that we're going to need to like let go of things, perhaps some of the comforts, some of the ways that we, you know, we want this new world and we don't want to be controlled, but yet we're also lazy, and so you can't sort of have it both ways. In a way, we're going to need to activate. We're going to need to really get involved. We're going to need to take control of our health and come out of the disease business, the business of disease, which has been just in place for so long. And we're going to have to come online with a lot of different health, holistic attunements. Remembering the Virgo Pisces is about, if we want to have the spiritual expansion, then we need to remember and treat the body as the holy vessel, which is Virgo. So purification, detoxing, you know, coming into a path of simplicity, reverence, staying very present on a daily basis, and then building your own ecosystem, your community. You know, there's little nexus points happening all over the planet. So whatever we can do locally to take our energy and our money out of that matrix and start to build, because that will compound upon itself. So the network of your friends, your family, you know, and organizing ourselves locally feels really, really important. That's very Aquarian, finding our tribe. And I mentioned this several times, medical sovereignty. Again, there's going to be a real emphasis on health with this axis of Virgo. And there's so many amazing technologies, one being ozone therapy, which is another one of those incredible natural remedies that heals pretty much everything. It works on a mitochondrial level. AIDS can't exist. Cancer can't exist in the company of ozone. And we have lots of people that are on the ground trying to educate that you can have your own home set up and keep your body healthy, keep your family's body healthy. It's completely anti-pathogen. So there's that. There's also a lot of incredible plant medicines coming online for healing of mind, body, spirit. So, you know, these are a lot of the beautiful emerging elements that I think are going to become more and more important to detox from a lot of the invasion from the outside that we've been seeing. So we have cleanup to do. We have a lot of cleanup to do politically, environmentally, physically, emotionally. So this is this time of the 9 and the snake where we need to really take this year to do so. Because yes, this has been a battle, and I know that I'm not telling you anything that you are not already aware. So just a little reminder to always practice neutrality instead of duality, right? To walk that tightrope, to see through the eyes of the one mind. And yeah, I have already mentioned this, but get on board with crypto. Definitely want to start learning. Let me know if you'd like to join our group. And AI, you know, we didn't talk about it too much, but I just want to say that there's a spectrum of light and shadow with everything. And we really need for us to understand that it's not going anywhere. And it actually can give you your humanity back. It actually can do all of these things that are so time consuming, that are so mind and soul numbing. So this is a way that we can take it into our own hands. Yes, there are some nefarious agendas out there, absolutely. So then I see it like money. It's neutral. It's our responsibility then, whoever's hands it's in, to program it with consciousness. I have some resources for you here at the end for anybody that's needing some support in those areas. And if you don't take anything else away from here tonight, then just remember this. It's all just an illusion, and we've got this. Yes, and just one final reminder that yes, we're straddling the ages. We are in this just wild, wondrous, intense, chaotic time, but we're also straddling the dimensional states, and we are the ones that we've been waiting for, and that it is all about frequency attunement. We are straddling the dimensional state, so it's actually quite simple. Whatever it is that makes you happy. And if you're having a hard time with the intensity or with the level of unknown, the acceleration of change, try simplifying, coming back to the present moment and shifting your vibrational field ever so slightly. Put on some music, put on your aromatherapy diffuser, sage your house, take a bath, go for a walk, talk to a friend, remember, whatever it is to be in this now moment, because usually things are okay in the now, right? So the more that we create happiness and levity in the nows, the more that we are tuning to those channels and sending out those vibrations into the wavelength. So I have one final amazing video for you, and so I wanted to leave you with that.
Species, an interesting mix. You're capable of such beautiful dreams and such horrible nightmares. You feel so lost, so cut off, so alone. In all our searching, the only thing we've found that makes the emptiness bearable is each other. And that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for your presence and for taking this journey with me. This was a gift from Russell and I, and hopefully next time he'll be by my side. Yes, a few shameless plugs. I'm promised that for anyone who is interested in the supernatural ozone, the setup is only $1,500 for your home. If you're local here in the Texas area, she does quarterly immersion. So it's a 2-day workshop where she teaches you everything, and then you're set up to do it at your house alone. You can go to the QR code there to see her website. She also has an online version of the class, so you can do it all on your own time from anywhere in the world. And also just to say that these this ozone also dissolves any nanoparticles that are in the blood. So for those of you that know what I'm talking about, that's really incredible. Something I highly recommend everybody look into. And then my dear sister and friend and colleague, Jacqueline, is an incredible multidimensional businesswoman. She is coaching people on how to give you your humanity back by training you with AI based on your needs. Everybody's needs are different. And so she has some webinar series coming up that are free. And then she has a little coaching package, which is just super affordable. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you get on board, catch the wave with this AI before you get left behind. And finally, for me, I have a full-time astrology practice. The magic comes alive whenever we look at where all these planets are in your own chart. So getting a reading with me is probably the next best step for you. I'd love to go deep. And I'm offering a discount code for anyone who is watching this, which is GIFT15, 15% off. And you can visit my website for that. I'm also starting a class, a 12-week journey for those that want to understand the pillars of astrology so that you can understand and start to read the archetypal universe. I'm a firm believer that you don't have to study astrology your whole life. You can learn the basics. This is what I'm going to teach in this class, is the 12 archetypes, and then the destiny line, how to be able to determine the karma from the past lives and the dharma, and looking at the wounds that block us. So there's these several building blocks that are essential that you're going to get in this 12-week class. It's online, meets once a week for an hour and a half. You can also find that on my website. One last slide here. This is our Shift Foundation. If you want to know about our events, this is our some of our product line. We actually sell different things. We have a Yopon tea. This is our school, astrom.org. And then this is Russell's website, which is under construction, but should be back up soon. So you're welcome to just take a shot of that. And thank you so much for your presence. And more than that, thank you for being a part of the shift. I know that if you're here, then you are a warrior standing by my side, and I can't thank you enough for all the work that has taken, all the diligence, all of the blood, sweat, and tears, all the initiations, all the underworld journeys, all the trust, everything that you're doing. And I give you so many blessings, and so hopefully we'll align again soon.